This is when tens of thousands of Bible-believing Christians in France were slaughtered. And at this point in the 1500s, Roman papal rule becomes known for the bloody and ruthless force that it is. So to state that as clearly as possible, Christianity that attempts to rule with the sword and enforce its dogma, whether that dogma is biblically correct or incorrect, is not Christianity. Jesus said the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, not Christians. We don't lord it over others. They exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. Whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. The Bible says, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. So for over 1,000 years, so-called Christian governments existed, but were not lamb-like. Notice that there's no power upon the earth in the entirety of Bible prophecy that is identified as a lamb-like nation until you get to America. Protestantism was great. There was a lot of light breaking forth in Europe, but it was not till the 18th century that you get a lamb-like nation arising around 1798 in Revelation 13. The French people at this point see no alternative in the late 1700s now. They see no alternative. They have seen religion in its worst. False religion, satanic religion, unchristian antichrist religion has ruled France. So what do they do in 1789? The atheistic French Revolution. And I think you heard some information in a previous presentation about the difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution. This is important to recognize the difference. And also, it's important to note that modern atheism is not rooted in we are so scientifically sophisticated that through Darwinistic evolutionary theory and paleontology and the different geologies that we study here, we've been able to achieve a denial of God through rational scientific. No, it had nothing to do with science to kick religion out the door. It had to do with that religion is evil, we don't want anything to do with it, so we're going to get rid of religion altogether, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater. Before Darwin, before Richard Dawkins, atheism was based on an emotional overreaction to religious persecution of the devil. Religion itself must be bad and inherently violent and oppressive. You still hear that to this day. It's a very common refrain from atheists and agnostics out there today. Well, they couldn't see past the particular Christians that had given them such a bad taste for Christianity. They weren't able to study Bible prophecy and say, wait a minute, that's Antichrist, not Christianity. Christianity must be the opposite of that. And the opposite of that is what I see when I look at the life of Jesus Christ. That's what the French could have gotten right. Like we got right in America largely in our founding, they got it completely wrong. After July 14, 1789, the storming of the Bastille, the French Revolution was underway. A mass uprising against monarchy, against nobility, against clergy. And they didn't simply remove oppressive religion, but they sought to de-Christianize the nation altogether. And then in that context, won't something rise to the surface to be supreme? If it is not God that's recognized as our creator that endows us with rights, what will rise to the surface as supreme? Well, in communism, it'll be the state. It ended up being that in the French Revolution also. But what they claimed they were finding to be their goddess is reason. They literally made a goddess out of reason. They appointed a festival day to the goddess of reason. Churches, including the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, were seized by force and converted into temples of reason. But then when we get to Robespierre's reign of terror and the guillotine is brought out and you have mass slaughter, how rational and humane is that? The rights of man, right? Not so. Anybody who's suspected of being against the revolution is promptly dispatched and decapitated by that guillotine. It was called, though, Robespierre's Committee of Public Safety. Oh boy. So it's not only in our time that they give clever names for things to make them sound nice, like public health, homeland security. Oh, let's take note from history. They've been doing this for a while. It's the reign of terror is what we call it, correctly. But reign of terror doesn't sound so good. You can imagine them sitting around the table. What shall we call it? The Jacobins are asking themselves. Ooh, public safety. Yes, that's it. Unbelievable. Just as many people were slaughtered by the reign of terror as who were murdered in the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. Does that explain the two opposites perfectly for us? Atheistic rule was just as evil as Dark Ages rule. In fact, you could add up the totals when you start bringing the Marxist communist angle in, and you're talking 100 million people genocided in the 20th century alone by this atheistic rule. That is, they might not like me saying this, the French, but it's a logical, linear, it's the logical conclusion of where you started it here, and they continued it here. America, let's talk about this, the middle. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Do you realize how much history is embedded in that first right stated in the Bill of Rights? It's the religious freedom right stated in the First Amendment, and there are two clauses. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. Boom. Were these guys brilliant or what? I mean, no, God helped them. There is no way. This is the earth helping the woman. I just love that First Amendment. It negates this and it negates that in one sentence. So you can't prohibit people from assembling together. I mean, we're struggling with this today, by the way. When I do this isn't meant to be a contemporary commentary. I could put a line through that, strike through. What I'm talking about is the founding, the principles of America.